The story begins in a remote African village, where traditions govern every aspect of life. Zanelle, a young woman known for her kindness and strong will, refuses to conform to the expectations set upon her. She is beautiful, intelligent, and compassionate, but her stepmother, Madala, sees her as nothing more than a tool to secure wealth. From the moment Zanelle turned of age, Madala has been determined to marry her off to the richest suitor possible, believing that a woman's worth is measured by the prosperity of the man she weds. Suitors have come and gone, each offering lavish gifts and grand promises, but Zanelle has turned them all down. She does not desire wealth, nor does she crave the luxurious life her stepmother dreams of for her. She believes in love, in a deep, soulful connection that cannot be bought with gold or cattle. Her resistance frustrates Madala, who constantly scolds and belittles her, calling her foolish and ungrateful for rejecting the opportunities placed before her. The villagers whisper about her stubbornness, some admiring her courage, while others ridicule her for not securing a better future. They say she is throwing away her only chance at a good life, but Zanelle remains unwavering in her belief that love cannot be forced or traded like a commodity. One fateful afternoon, while walking through the bustling village market, Zanelle notices a commotion near the well. A man in tattered clothes, covered in dust and sweat, collapses onto the ground. The villagers immediately recoil, some muttering about how he should be thrown out of the village before he brings misfortune upon them. He is a beggar, a nameless wanderer who has been seen drifting from village to village. No one knows where he came from or what misfortunes led him to this state, but they do not care to find out. The people of the village believe in wealth, in power, and in status, and a man like this holds none of those. They kick dust at him, calling him useless and cursed, urging him to leave before nightfall. But as Zanelle watches, she sees something in his eyes that others do not. A quiet dignity, a strength beneath the dirt and rags that intrigues her. While others step away, she steps forward. Ignoring the protests of the villagers, she kneels beside the stranger and gently places a hand on his shoulder. He flinches at her touch, surprised that someone would offer him kindness. She asks if he is all right, her voice soft and genuine. When he tries to stand, his body trembles with weakness, and without hesitation, she helps him to his feet. The market-goers gasp in shock, whispering about how she is disgracing herself by touching a beggar. Madala, who had been watching from a distance, storms toward them, furious at the scene unfolding before her. She grabs Zanelle's wrist, pulling her away and warning her never to associate with such filth again. But Zanelle stands her ground, looking into the beggar's tired eyes and making a decision that will change her life forever. Zanelle and Chaka's conversations begin in secret, away from the judging eyes of the villagers. At first, their exchanges are brief, with her offering him food and asking simple questions about his past. Chaka is reserved, hesitant to share too much, but over time, he opens up. He tells her that he was not always a beggar. Once, he was a man of promise, well-educated and respected, but fate had been cruel to him. He speaks of losing his family, his home, and everything he once had. Despite his misfortunes, he does not pity himself. He carries himself with quiet dignity, his words filled with wisdom and strength. Zanelle is captivated by the depth of his mind, the way he speaks with intelligence and grace, even in his current state. He knows about the world beyond their village, about history, about things she has never heard before. In his eyes, she sees not a beggar, but a man with a soul rich in knowledge and experience. Word spreads quickly that Zanelle has been seen talking to the beggar. The villagers mock her mercilessly, laughing at her foolishness. They call her a disgrace, saying she has thrown away her future for a man who has nothing to offer. Madala is livid when she hears the gossip, storming into their home and confronting Zanelle. She screams at her for humiliating the family, for associating with a man who has no wealth, no status, and no future. She warns Zanelle that if she continues down this path, she will be disowned, cast out, left to suffer the same fate as Chaka. But Zanelle does not waver. She has seen something in Chaka that no one else has. A light, a kindness, an intellect that money cannot buy. No amount of threats can change what she feels. As the days pass, Zanelle and Chaka grow closer. She sneaks away at night to talk to him under the stars, where no one can judge them. He shares stories of the world beyond the village, of great cities, of different cultures and beliefs. She listens with wide eyes, soaking in every word. He teaches her things she never knew, and in return, she teaches him about the traditions of their people, about the little things that make life beautiful despite hardship. One evening, as they sit by the river, Chaka looks at Zanelle with deep sorrow in his eyes. He tells her he does not wish to bring her shame, that he knows how much she is sacrificing by even speaking to him. He offers to leave, to spare her from further humiliation. But Zanelle does not hesitate. She takes his hands in hers and tells him she has made her choice. She loves him. Not because of what he has or does not have, but because of who he is. Chaka's eyes fill with emotion, and in that moment, he knows that Zanelle is unlike anyone he has ever met. Knowing that her stepmother will never accept their love, Zanelle makes a bold decision. She will marry Chaka, no matter what. There will be no grand wedding, no lavish feast, but she does not care. Love is not about gold or cattle or approval. It is about two souls choosing each other. She tells Chaka her plan, and though he hesitates, afraid for her, she reassures him that she is ready to face whatever consequences come. The wedding is small, attended only by a handful of friends who believe in love over wealth. They gather under the old baobab tree, where an elder blesses their union. There are no expensive gifts, no extravagant celebration, but in Zanelle's heart, there is pure joy. Chaka looks at her as if she is the most precious thing in the world, and in that moment, she knows she has made the right choice. They exchange simple vows, promising to stand by each other no matter what. When the ceremony ends, Zanelle takes Chaka's hand, ready to walk into an uncertain future with him. She does not know what awaits them, only that they have each other, and that is enough. After the wedding, Zanelle and Chaka begin their life together in a small, crumbling hut at the farthest edge of the village. The roof leaks when it rains, the walls are thin, and the cold air seeps through at night. There is barely any furniture, just a mat to sleep on and a few old pots for cooking. It is nothing like the comfortable home she once lived in, but Zanelle does not complain. She has made her choice, and she is determined to stand by it. Life is difficult from the very start. Chaka, despite his wisdom and intelligence, struggles to find work. No one in the village wants to hire a beggar, no matter how educated he may be. They mock him, calling him useless, treating him as if he is invisible. Zanelle does not let this discourage her. She wakes up before sunrise every day, determined to provide for them. She gathers reeds from the river and weaves baskets, selling them at the market for whatever little she can get. She offers to wash clothes for the wealthier families, scrubbing until her hands are raw. Some laugh in her face, refusing to give her work, but others, though few, pity her and agree. Everywhere she goes, she hears the whispers. Villagers shake their heads when they see her, speaking in hushed tones about how she has thrown her life away. Women, who once considered her a friend, now avoid her, looking at her with disdain. They say she has cursed herself, that love cannot fill an empty stomach. Some even tell their daughters to stay away from her, as if she carries bad luck. But Zanelle refuses to be broken. She holds her head high, refusing to let their cruelty shake her love for Chaka. Madala, however, is unforgiving. She does not just ignore Zanelle. She makes a public spectacle of disowning her. She gathers the villagers and declares that Zanelle is no longer her daughter. She strips away any claim Zanelle had to the family home, to any inheritance. She even forbids her younger siblings from speaking to her, warning them that associating with a woman who married a beggar will only bring them misfortune. Zanelle listens in silence, her heart heavy, but she does not beg or plead. She simply nods and walks away, knowing there is nothing left for her in her mother's house. Chaka sees her pain, though she tries to hide it. He holds her at night when she is too exhausted to move, when her hands are blistered from work. He tells her that things will get better, that fate will not be cruel to them forever. But he also carries his own guilt. He sees how much she suffers, how much she sacrifices for them, and he blames himself. He feels like a burden, like he has failed her. One night, he tells her that she would have been better off without him, that she could still leave and return to her family. Zanelle silences him immediately. She cups his face in her hands and tells him that she did not marry him for wealth or comfort. She married him because she saw something in him that no one else did. She reminds him that love is not measured in gold, but in the strength of two people standing by each other, no matter how difficult life becomes. Chaka does not argue after that. Instead, he vows to find a way to give her a better life, no matter what it takes. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. The struggles do not end, but Zanelle and Chaka hold on to each other. They share small joys, laughing over meals, sitting by the river where they first fell in love, whispering dreams about a future where life is not so hard. Zanelle's love does not waver, even when hunger gnaws at them, even when the world looks down on them. She knows that happiness is not in riches, but in the heart. And in her heart, she has already found everything she needs. Zanelle wakes up to an unusual silence. The early morning breeze flows through the thin walls of their hut, and the faint light of dawn peeks through the cracks. She reaches out for Chaka, expecting to feel his warmth beside her, but her hands meet only the rough surface of the mat. She sits up, rubbing her tired eyes, and looks around. The small room is empty. Chaka is gone. Her heart pounds as she gets to her feet. Maybe he stepped out to fetch water or went to the market early. But as she moves closer to the door, she notices a small folded piece of parchment resting near the entrance. With trembling hands, she picks it up and unfolds it. The words are simple, yet they shake her to the core. My love, trust in destiny. One day, you will understand. Her breath catches in her throat. What does this mean? Where has he gone? Why would he leave without telling her? Panic grips her as she rushes outside, calling his name. The village is just beginning to stir, but no one has seen him. She runs to the river, to the marketplace, to the few places he ever went, but he is nowhere to be found. The reality sets in. He is truly gone. Days pass, then weeks, and still, Chaka does not return. The whispers in the village grow louder. People smirk as they pass her, muttering that she has finally been abandoned, that the beggar never truly loved her. Some say he ran away because he could not handle the shame of their poverty. Others cruelly joke that he must have found another woman willing to take care of him. Zanelle refuses to believe it. She holds onto the note, reading it over and over, trying to find meaning in his words. But as the weeks turn into months, doubt creeps in. What if they are right? What if he truly left her? The thought crushes her spirit. She has lost everything, her family, her home, and now the man she gave up everything for. The loneliness is unbearable. She works harder than ever trying to distract herself, but the emptiness inside her grows each day. Her heart aches whenever she sees couples laughing together, when she hears the sound of a husband calling his wife. She longs for his voice, for his arms around her, for the warmth of his presence. But there is only silence. Survival becomes even more difficult. Without Chaka, the burden of earning money is heavier. The villagers who already despised her now treat her even worse. Some openly laugh at her misery, calling her a fool for believing in love over security. Others refuse to buy from her, forcing her to travel to distant villages just to sell her baskets. Hunger and exhaustion weigh her down, but the pain of being left behind is far worse. Then, one evening, just as she is about to give up hope, a commotion stirs in the village. A group of horsemen arrives, their presence commanding attention. They wear fine garments, their horses adorned with golden embellishments. The villagers, curious and intimidated, gather to see who they are. At the front, a royal messenger dismounts and steps forward, holding a scroll with the king's seal. "Where is Zanelle?" he asks, his voice firm and authoritative. A hush falls over the crowd. People exchange confused glances before someone hesitantly points in her direction. Zanelle, who had been standing at a distance, watching in stunned silence, feels her breath hitch. The messenger approaches her, his eyes scanning her with a look of recognition, as if he was expecting someone different. Then, in a voice that echoes through the stunned village, he declares, "You are summoned to the palace." Zanelle's heart pounds as she sits inside the grand carriage, watching the landscape change from familiar village paths to well-paved roads leading to the capital city. The villagers had watched in stunned silence as she was taken away, their mocking whispers replaced by confusion and curiosity. She clutches her hands together, her mind racing with questions. Why was she being summoned? Why had the royal messenger specifically asked for her? Was this some kind of mistake? Or worse, was she being accused of something she didn't do? As the city gates open, Zanelle is overwhelmed by the sight before her. Towering buildings, bustling markets, and soldiers standing in perfect formation. This world is nothing like her humble village. The carriage passes through wide streets, leading straight to the palace, an enormous structure that gleams under the sun. The guards open the grand doors, and she is led inside, her breath catching at the sheer magnificence of the golden walls, the high ceilings, and the shimmering chandeliers. Servants dressed in fine silk bow as she walks past, their expressions unreadable. Her fear grows with every step. Who had summoned her? What did they want from a poor village girl? Finally, the doors to the main hall swing open, revealing a figure standing at the far end. The sight makes her heart stop. Chaka. But it is not the Chaka she remembers. Gone are the ragged clothes, the tired eyes, and the frail posture. Before her stands a man draped in royal robes, a crown resting on his head. His posture is confident, his presence commanding. Zanelle stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend what she is seeing. This is not possible. It cannot be real. "Chaka." Her voice is barely a whisper. A small smile plays on his lips as he steps closer. "My love," he says softly, his eyes filled with emotion she cannot decipher. Zanelle shakes her head, her legs trembling. This is a mistake. You are not." Chaka was a beggar. He was a test, he interrupts gently. "I was a test." Her breath hitches as his words sink in. Chaka takes another step forward, his gaze never leaving hers. "I am Chaka, but I am also Prince Chakazulu, heir to the throne of this kingdom." Zanelle feels the room spin around her. "No," she whispers, stumbling back. "No, this cannot be true." "It is," he says, his voice steady. "I was never truly a beggar, Zanelle. I was sent to live among the common people in disguise, to test the hearts of those around me. My father, the king, believed that a true ruler must understand the struggles of his people before he can lead them. I lived as a beggar, enduring hardship, witnessing cruelty, but also finding kindness in the most unexpected place. In you." Zanelle's knees buckle and she falls to the ground. The weight of his revelation crushes her. The man she had fought for, sacrificed everything for, was never who she thought he was. The world she had chosen, one of poverty and struggle, had never been real for him. Tears well up in her eyes as confusion and betrayal war within her. "You lied to me," she whispers, her voice shaking. "You made me believe you were suffering, that you had nothing." Chaka kneels before her, his expression pained. "I never lied about my love for you. That was the only truth that mattered. I needed to see who would stand by me, who would love me without gold or status. And you were the only one who saw me, not as a beggar, not as a prince, but as a man. Zanelle's mind reels. She had married a prince without knowing it. She had been mocked, humiliated, cast out of her family, all for a love she believed was built on nothing but honesty. And now she was standing in a palace, facing a man who had never truly been who he claimed to be. Chaka reaches for her hands, his touch gentle. I did not abandon you, Zanelle. I left to reclaim my place, to make things right. I did it because I love you, and I have brought you here because you are my wife, my queen. Zanelle stares into his eyes, searching for the truth. The man she loved was still there, beneath the crown and the royal robes. But could she accept this? Could she forgive him? Her heart is torn between the love she once knew and the overwhelming truth before her. The palace is alive with celebration. Golden banners flutter in the wind, the air filled with the sounds of drums and flutes. Zanelle stands before a grand mirror, her reflection almost unrecognizable. She is draped in the finest silks, adorned with intricate jewelry, and crowned with a delicate golden headpiece. The weight of it all presses on her, not just the garments, but the reality of her new life. Chaka stands beside her, his hand warm and steady on hers. You were always meant for this, he whispers, not because of wealth or status, but because of your heart. Zanelle swallows, emotions swelling in her chest. Just weeks ago, she was washing clothes by the river, struggling to survive. Now, she is queen. As they step onto the palace balcony, a sea of people awaits below. The same villagers who once mocked her now kneel before her. She scans the crowd, spotting familiar faces. Women who had ridiculed her, men who had called her foolish. And there, standing hesitantly at the back, is Madala. Her stepmother looks smaller than Zanelle remembers, her once proud stance replaced by uncertainty. Their eyes meet, and for the first time, Zanelle sees something she had never seen in her stepmother before: regret. Madala steps forward, her voice trembling. Your Majesty, She hesitates, then falls to her knees, bowing her head. Forgive me. The sight sends a wave of emotions through Zanelle. She remembers the pain, the rejection, the nights she spent crying because she was cast aside. But she also remembers Chaka's words: the true test of a person is not how they treat others in power, but how they treat those who have nothing. She steps forward, lifting her stepmother's chin. Rise, she says gently. Let the past remain in the past. Madala's eyes widen, tears streaming down her cheeks. You have a heart of gold, Zanelle. The grand ceremony continues, marking the beginning of a new era. Chaka's father, the king, who had been in exile, is restored to his throne. The kingdom rejoices, for justice and love have prevailed. As the night deepens, Zanelle stands by Chaka, gazing at the stars. Did you always know this would happen? She asks. He shakes his head. Number I only knew that if I found someone who truly loved me for who I was, I would have already won. Zanelle smiles, realizing the truth. She may have married a beggar, but destiny had given her a king. And more importantly, love had given her everything she had ever needed. The story ends with a simple but powerful lesson. True love and kindness always win, and destiny rewards those with pure hearts. As the days pass, Zanelle embraces her new role as queen with grace and wisdom. She understands the power she now holds, but she also remembers the struggles she endured. Instead of seeking revenge on those who wronged her, she chooses a different path, one of fairness and kindness. Her stepmother, Madala, is allowed to stay in the palace, but Zanelle sets firm boundaries. She will not allow greed or manipulation to cloud her life again. Madala, humbled by her daughter's mercy, spends her days in quiet reflection, realizing that love and kindness, not wealth, are the greatest treasures in life. Together, Zanelle and Chaka rule with compassion, focusing on uplifting the poor and forgotten. Chaka, having lived among the common people, ensures that no one in the kingdom suffers as he once did. They build schools, provide work for struggling families, and change the fate of many who had been overlooked. One evening, as the sun sets in hues of gold and crimson, Zanelle stands on the palace balcony, gazing over the vast kingdom. The air is warm, carrying the laughter of children playing in the village below. She closes her eyes for a moment, thinking of her journey, from rejection and hardship to love and destiny's ultimate reward. Chaka joins her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "What are you thinking about?" he asks. She smiles, leaning into him. "How everything led me here. How the pain, the struggles, and even the ridicule were all a part of the path I was meant to walk." He nods. "Sometimes, destiny takes us through the darkest storms to bring us to the brightest sun." Zanelle looks up at him, her heart full. "I married a beggar and found a king. But more than that, I found a love that was always meant to be." As the stars begin to twinkle in the sky, she takes a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace she never thought possible. She may have started as a girl shunned by her family, mocked by her village, and left to struggle, but now she is a queen, not just of a kingdom, but of her own fate. The story ends with a powerful lesson. Life's greatest rewards often come from the most unexpected places. Love, kindness, and faith in destiny can turn even the darkest paths into roads leading to unimaginable happiness.